So in this lesson, I'm going to be telling you the mistakes to avoid when you start learning guitar. So we're going to jump straight into this, and I'm going to give you number one, which is your right arm position. Now, I think this is quite a big mistake that people make, because a lot of videos and courses and things like that, they will concentrate on your left hand. And there is a good reason for that. That was the one that's doing quite a lot of work, whether it's playing with chords or whether it's just playing note. So that hand and those fingers are really important. However, we have two arms on guitar. Unfortunately, it isn't just one. So what I commonly see on guitar with their right arm is a lot of people will actually come over the top of the guitar. What we ideally want with our right arm is we kind of go a little bit diagonal. So the edge of my guitar is here, and then my arm comes diagonal, which then takes you to where the strings are. Obviously, everyone has different arms and lengths of arms. So the position that my arm is in when I play guitar is maybe going to be slightly different to someone else's who obviously has different arms, different shoulders, etc, etc. But I think generally a nice diagonal line with your arm keeps it nice and consistent. But the bigger point that I want to make with this right arm position is keeping it flat. Now, this is what I see even more, is people will have their arm basically up in the air. So they'll come around the corner of the guitar, they'll lay their arm, but rather than lay their arm flat, it will be up in the air. So they end up kind of picking like this. And you can see on this camera, I can literally put my hand underneath it. Really, really, really common, but you lose a lot of control because your arm's up in the air. You're essentially floating, or your arm's floating, not literally you floating. What we want to do is we want to lay that arm flat, and generally what I do, this part of my hand here, so where the wrist is, usually, and certainly on electric, I lay that on my bridge. Okay, and sometimes what I do as well is these two fingers here, so your third finger and your little finger, sometimes I just put them down underneath the strings on the guitar. Again, it's all about control and stability. When your arm's up in the air, you're just floating, okay, and it's really hard to get control, really hard to get speed. So flatten that arm down, put your hand on your bridge, and if you want some added stability, put those fingers down. Don't push them down like that. Obviously, if you push it down, then we're using energy that we don't need to, which will slow you down. So they just kind of rest there if you want more stability. And then if you watch videos and if you see pictures, this will generally be how people will have their right arm and their right hand. If your arm and your hand comes too far across, you'll get nothing. So if that happens, just bring it back a little bit until you get a nice note that rings out. So the second mistake is information overload. Now, we are very lucky in the age of the internet that we have so much resources to learn or gain knowledge about kind of really anything. But for guitar, there is so much information out there. You've got websites, you've got YouTube, you've got people selling courses, you've got guitar lessons, and it's just so much information that I can understand how it is quite overwhelming for beginner guitarists. Now, on the internet, you can find free guitar courses, you can find paid guitar courses, and a lot of the guitar teachers or guitar websites will also use free trials for a month. So I definitely recommend trying a few different ones, maybe 2 or 3, try some trials, try it for a month. Not too much expense, but you'll get a much more structure rather than searching YouTube, although there are some guitar courses on YouTube, or even the web where there's just so much information there. As a guitar teacher, I naturally gravitate towards suggesting that people have a guitar lesson with a teacher. But again, what that is doing is it's providing structure. And I believe that's really the most important thing when you start learning guitar, is a structure of what to learn, when to learn it, and how to learn it correctly. So number 3 is a big one, and that is a lack of a practice routine. So this could really be applied to anyone, but I see this quite often as a guitar teacher myself and the students that I teach, is it seems to be that people will pick up the guitar as and when they have time. Now, that's understandable. It's a busy world. People are as busy as ever. And I think this can work if things are going well on the guitar. But I think when things start to not go so well, and what I mean by that is maybe if you're playing a chord and maybe our chord sounds like this. We've got muted strings. That can be quite frustrating, and guitar is very much a marathon and not a sprint. You will get several peaks and you will also get some lows too that you need to just kind of fight through essentially. So what I recommend that you do is you look at your week, your 7-day week. When do you have free time? And then pencil in when you're going to do your guitar practice. So if you're available from 6 to 7 on a Monday, put your guitar practice in then. It doesn't have to be an hour. The shorter chunks are much better if you do it more often, but it's just putting in, okay, on Monday at 6 o'clock, I'm going to do my guitar practice, compared to,
well, I might do my guitar practice, just see how it goes. I'll pick up the guitar and might do some practice.
you know, it's a little bit wishy-washy. From, again, my experience is people that put a proper practice routine down, they generally stick to it a lot longer and they improve much faster because they are continuously practicing and they are in that routine. So the next mistake to avoid is the fear of mistakes / getting frustrated. So this is a bit 2 in 1. Beginner guitarists will make mistakes. Intermediate guitarists will make mistakes. Professional guitarists will make mistakes. You will make mistakes on guitar. If you look at our strings are so close together. It requires our right hand to be in sync with our left hand, our arm, our guitar pick, our fingers being in the right shape, pressing down enough. There's so many different variables on guitar that you will just make a mistake. And the issue with fear of mistake is 1, leads to frustration, and 2, the fear almost slows you down or put that cloud of thought in your mind when you're getting up to a particular point in a song of, oh my God, I'm going to mess this up, I'm going to make a mistake, I'm going to make a mistake. And inevitably you probably will make a mistake. So how do you avoid this? Mistakes are fine, but you need to analyze what the mistake was and then how to fix it. So for example, going back to the chords, say for example you're playing a D chord and maybe one of your strings is muted like that, and that's kind of annoying you because you're not getting the full D. What you do is you analyze that. Now there could be a couple of things that are causing that. It could be that our second finger's not pushing down enough, or it could be that one of our fingers is a little bit too flat, which is causing the string to be muted. So you would look at your chord and see what the problem is, whether it is the pressure of your finger or whether it's your fingers being too flat. Mistakes will make you better. It's just learning from the mistakes and then trying not to make that mistake again. I don't think you need me to explain that frustration is not good. So frustration causes tension in our arms and our hands. When we have tension, we slow down. We want to be nice and relaxed to play guitar quickly and to form our fingers nicely. When we have tension, you'll start to overthink things, and if you're playing guitar quickly, you'll start to slow down, and you just get all of that all together and it's just no use on guitar. You'll probably end up putting the guitar down, hopefully not smashing the guitar, but frustration is probably where a lot of beginner guitarists go to self-teach and they get quite frustrated and put the guitar down and don't pick it up again. Particularly in this period here where people have got guitars for Christmas. So the next one is a golden rule on guitar. I tell this to everyone that I teach in their first lesson, and even if I've been teaching them for a year, if they stop doing it, then I'm going to tell them again. So this is pretty simple. When you put your finger on a fret, you want to put it right next to your line. That's how we get the best note. If you put it the other way, the note doesn't sound as good and you might get buzzes on your note. Doing it at that speed in your own time is fairly easy. It's when you add speed in, that's generally when people will start to break that rule. So even if we are maybe playing a scale, or maybe we're playing a song really quick, we should always keep our fingers next to the line as much as you can. There's a few exceptions, but only a few. When people play slightly quicker than their natural speed, that's where mistakes come in and things like that can be forgotten. Slow it down if you need to and just make sure those fingers are staying next to your fret line. Because the other benefit for it is, say for example, you're going from the 5th fret on your B to the 7th fret on your B, you can help that other finger out by bringing that first finger next to the line. If it's all the way over here, means we have to stretch even further to try and get to the 7th fret. So that leads us very nicely into the next mistake that almost everyone will make, but certainly beginner guitarists too, is speed. Now, I think most people want to play guitar quickly. As I mentioned before, when we play quickly, that's when mistakes start to happen. You must start slow on guitar. It will sound much better. It's amazing how many times I have to tell people to slow down on guitar, but one, they usually sound better, and two, you need to do it slowly before you can do it quickly. So even I, as a professional guitarist, I will always start slowly. If I'm learning a guitar solo, I will play it, learn it slowly. I won't jump in at the full speed of the guitar. So the very last mistake to avoid is jumping into chords too quickly. Again, this is another one that I see really regularly with people that come to me for guitar lessons, is they'll say, Josh, I picked up the guitar, I went to play a D chord, and my fingers, I just didn't understand what I needed to do, and my fingers didn't understand what to do. This is what I do. When people come to me for guitar lessons as a beginner, I will start them off for at least probably a month on single note riffs. So that is your Seven Nation Army. That's also your Smoke on the Water. There's loads and loads of single note riffs that you can learn and you can play. You are learning how much pressure you need to push on a fret. You're also learning maybe to use a different finger. So there's a few things here that you need to learn first before you jump into chords, because chords, for the most part, are going to use 3 fingers, 4 fingers, all at the same time. So again, it's like the speed issue. If we can't do something slowly, we're probably not going to be able to do it quickly. And it's the same with this. If we're really struggling with just one finger, then using multiple fingers is also probably going to be a struggle. So that has been the mistakes that I recommend that you avoid on guitar. This is coming from personal experience from teaching students that come to me that have tried learning, and also different things that I observe with people that I teach and try to correct. If you enjoyed this lesson, click the like button, click the subscribe and the bell. That way you'll be notified each week when I upload a guitar lesson.